NFTs, on one hand, it's been disappointing to see just how many companies are trying to jump on this bandwagon, trying to get in on the gold rush. But on the other hand, it's been encouraging to see just how much pushback there has been, enough that plenty of gaming companies and entities have been forced to retreat or are facing enough backlash that they're at the very least reconsidering. Now, to give you a recap for some of the NFT schemes we've seen from the gaming sector of things, there's Ubisoft Quartz, which at one point they tried to give to employees and that didn't go well. Stalker 2 at one point tried to implement NFTs. They were forced to backpedal on that completely because of the backlash. Peter Molyneux still at it with Legacy, trying to sell NFT land. Square Enix released that Happy New Year 2022 letter where they said, let's celebrate with more NFTs. Konami, they had that Castlevania 35th anniversary NFT auction, and they've said there's more to come, so Metal Gear is up next, so there's more desecration happening there. Atari released their loot box NFTs as if regular NFTs weren't bad enough for the 50th anniversary celebration. There's Team 17, the publisher of Worms. Their NFTs ended in failure because of just how much pushback there was. Troy Baker tried to do voice AI NFTs, but he apologized and did backpedal from that. Sega halted their own plans. They did make some patents here and there, but they said they wouldn't do anything that was strictly just, clearly a scam or money-making. EA backpedaled recently. Andrew Wilson before said NFTs are the future, but in a recent financial briefing, he kind of said, we're not looking into it too much right now. And that finally brings us to today. Steam has banned NFTs, ladies and gentlemen. On Steam currently, you may find games like this, Age of Rust. You scroll down, the description reads as follows. NFT achievements. Age of Rust is a blockchain game which uses NFTs on the Engine platform. Some of the puzzles in Age of Rust are eligible for players to receive an NFT as an achievement. The game also uses NFTs from other games as well as the multiverse NFTs from Engine such as Epochrome, whatever, all these freaking names, I don't know. There are plenty of game developers looking to capitalize on NFTs and trying to sell them on platforms that allow them. But what happens when platforms decide, nah, it's too risky or it's too scammy or too scummy? That's precisely the stance that Steam and Gabe Newell have taken with Steam banning games with NFTs and cryptocurrency. You can read that in their policies now. If you go to partner.steamgames.com and check out this section right here, Rules and Guidelines, there's a section titled What You Shouldn't Publish on Steam. And all the way down here, you'll find applications built on blockchain technology that issue or allow exchange of cryptocurrencies or NFTs. Hell frickin' yes. Now, the developers of Age of Rust were none too pleased, tweeting the following. Community, a few minutes ago we were notified that Steam will be kicking all blockchain games off the platform, including Age of Rust, because NFTs have value. Sure, you keep telling yourself that. Behind the scenes, we've had good communication and have been upfront with Steam. We chose to be upfront about blockchain gaming and NFTs. As a result, we finally lost the battle with Steam. While I'm disappointed for Age of Rust being removed, the point is more to the fact that blockchain games as a whole are going to be removed. This is setback for all. Setback. Yeah, okay, speak for yourself, bud. Steam's point of view is that items have value and they don't allow items that can have real-world value on their platform. I don't know if this was actually what the communication was, but assuming that this is actually what Steam said, I do have to point out the irony of them saying they don't allow items with real-world value, given that that's pretty much what the skin economy of games like Counter-Strike is. They do have real world value because you can cash out on those rare loot box items. So I do feel there's definitely some hypocrisy there, but at the same time, NFTs represent a far worse form of monetization, and any way to discourage companies from pursuing them, I'm all for. While I respect their choice, I fundamentally believe that NFTs and blockchain games are the future. It's why I started this journey with all of you, etc., etc. Thank you to the community, so on and so forth. Now, you'll notice that this ban happened a couple months ago, back in October 14th, 2021. So why do I bring all this up, you ask, if it's, months old? Well, Gabe Newell recently did some interviews where he explained why he believes that NFTs have no place on Steam and with Valve as a company. Here is what he said when asked by Rock Paper Shotgun. Steam recently banned games with NFT and cryptocurrency integration. Do you think these technologies have any role to play in games at all? To which Gabe Newell responded, you have to separate the underlying technology versus which actors are utilizing that technology. The underlying technology of distributed ledgers and the notion of digital ownership and shared universes are all pretty reasonable. The people in the spaces, though, tend to be involved in a ton of criminal activity and a lot of sketchy behaviors. So it's much more about the actors than it is about the underlying technology or the rationale for what we're doing. And that's kind of what I've been saying. I'm not saying blockchain, the technology itself, doesn't have potential uses. What I am saying is that the uses we're seeing now, especially in the gaming landscape, are not actually productive. It's more about companies and certain individuals trying to get rich quick, trying to line their pockets. So it's much more about the actors than it is about the underlying technology or the rationale for what we're doing. Similarly, at one point, Steam was accepting cryptocurrencies for payments, and it turned out that it just made customers super mad. There was the issue of volatility. You don't want your pricing to vary when anchored to people's wages. So if you think of how much I make, right, it happens to be denominated in things like euros or dollars or whatever. They don't want to find out that there's tremendous volatility when they're actually purchasing things day to day. Like, why did I spend $497 one day to buy a game and the next day I spent 47 cents? What's going on here? Volatility is a bad thing in a medium for exchange. That was one problem. That sort of volatility was creating more pain for our customers than the value of having the option of using cryptocurrencies. Another thing was that the vast majority of these transactions, for whatever reason, were fraudulent, where people were repudiating transactions or using illegal sources of funds and things like that. And that's just out of control, right? You want that number realistically in a couple of percent, not half of all transactions turning out to be fraudulent transactions. So that goes to highlight just how much scams are rampant in the landscape of blockchain and NFTs and crypto. Similarly, with the actors that are currently in this NFT space, they're just not people you really are wanting to be doing business with. That doesn't say anything about the underlying technology. It's just a reflection of the people right now who are viewing it as an opportunity to rip customers off or engage in money laundering or other things like that. I could not have put this better myself. This is exactly what my stance has been about blockchain and NFTs. And the fact that Valve took swift enough action and listened to the feedback out there and why people are so against NFTs to just ban them outright, given the current landscape, to me, that's a very positive sign, and I am very glad that this is happening because Steam represents a huge portion of the PC gaming landscape, and when Steam bans NFTs, that's a huge setback and a huge disincentivizer for companies to pursue NFTs because it may mean not being able to release their games on Steam, the largest digital PC game storefront launcher and platform out there right now, which is just a huge financial risk. And in turn, it's going to actually make them think twice about implementing NFTs. And that is on top of all of the negative PR that NFTs tend to generate and all of the community pushback it tends to draw. So this is just a win across the board as far as I'm concerned. And then in a separate interview, Gabe Newell talked about the Metaverse and how most people have no idea what they're talking about with the Metaverse, and saying Metaverse is already a thing. It's always been a thing. It's just now being sold again as a new concept with a new word, a new buzzword, even though Metaverses have already existed, MMOs being a prime example. So Newell said this: there's a bunch of get-rich-quick schemes around Metaverse. Most of the people who are talking about Metaverse have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and they've apparently never played an MMO. They're like, oh, you'll be able to customize your avatar. It's like, well, go into Lanosea and Final Fantasy XIV and tell me that that isn't a solved problem from a decade ago, not some fabulous thing that you're, inventing. Indeed, what companies like Meta are really aiming for is creating this almost second life kind of virtual environment where they can exert even more control and through which they can make even more money. It's not actually about convenience and about improving lives. And so far, I've seen no good argument for the existence of Metaverse and NFTs. And Gabe Newell concluded with, obviously, the gaming industry has been exploring these technologies for a long time. It'll be interesting to see if anybody who's sort of coming to the party late has much to add rather than a desire to have a bunch of people give them a bunch of money for magic reasons. But, in the end, customers and useful technology win out, so I'm not super worried about that. Yeah, at the end of the day, customers will adopt a technology if it's genuinely useful and convenient to them. And, time will tell whether that'll happen with the Metaverse and NFTs, whether blockchain will actually see some proper, good implementation instead of the scams that we're seeing right now. But for now, Absolutely not. We're seeing nothing of the sort. Literally, that I haven't found a single reason why NFTs should be normalized in video games other than it helps some people, a certain percentage of people at the top of the pyramid, and certain companies make a whole lot of money. That aside, though, everything that they're promoting NFTs will pave the road for is already possible with the current technology that isn't anywhere near as environmentally harmful. And even then, all that stuff that's possible without NFTs can also be in the realm of scams, and NFTs is just sort of a new word to disguise those scams as this brand new thing that's basically just the same old scam, just with more environmentally harmful and just a more nefarious form of monetization and technology. So yeah, I'm very glad that Steam has taken this stance, and you can see from how viral IGN's tweet about Gabe Newell banning NFTs from Steam due to sketchy behavior and out-of-control fraud has taken off. I mean, almost 100,000 likes in just like 24 hours. Not even that. This was published in the afternoon of February 25th, yesterday, and, you know, there's still a couple hours to go before this hits the 24-hour mark. So in less than a day, almost 100,000 likes. The tweet has gone viral, and people are in full support of this. There's such mass support for anything that denies NFTs. And this is just going to make companies sweat even more when they have to think about, man, is it worth risking implementing NFTs if we can't launch our games on Steam, if we're going to get all this backlash and negative PR, all these stigmas that make this endeavor a liability. All of that is just going to push them back even further. So as far as I'm concerned, hell yes to all of this. But that's just one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Steam banning NFTs. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.